Greetings, everyone, and let's keep the ball rolling on the Avengers edition. And today, I'll be talking about a character that I kind of wanted to talk about for a while, and I figured since I'm doing an Avengers edition, this is a very cheap excuse. But today, I'll be talking about Simon Williams, aka Wonderman, one of the founding members of the West Coast Avengers. And he was created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and then Don Hick, or Hack. I'm presuming it's Heck. And his first appearance was in Avengers number 9 in April of 1964. And originally Simon Williams was a character that had went to the Masters of Evil to try to gain more power, because his company had actually went bankrupt. He pretty much his brother Eric Williams, who, for those of you who don't know, Wonder Man is actually the brother of Eric Williams, also known as the Grim Reaper. Yeah. And Simon while Eric was off doing criminal vendettas, Simon was basically trying to save their father's munitions company. And his brother came back with a scheme. It's like, hey, the company's going downhill, take like stock tips and stuff. Well, Simon reluctantly took that advice. And it ended up costing him his father's company, and also it made him a criminal. However, this was blamed on Eric since he was a known felon. However, Simon, losing everything, ended up going to the Masters of Evil to try to gain some revenge. Some revenge against his brother. And the Masters of Evil basically tricked him into being part of an experiment. And apparently he would turn into a greatly empowered being, and they would implant him into the Avengers to destroy it from within. However, this would subsequently backfire. As a failsafe, he had to always constantly recharge the ionic energy that was in his body, as it was proven to be unstable. However, even though he turned on the Avengers, at the last-ditch moment, Simon could not bear the burden of knowing that he was going to constantly be a pawn to be used for evil. So he heroically sacrificed himself to help the Avengers and stop the Masters of Evil. And he would soon dissipate, and he would never be heard from again until much later on, when he actually resurfaced as a being of pure ionic energy. However, he would fluctuate. And so what ended up happening is that they ended up finding a way to stabilize Simon forever, so he could have an ever constant flow of ionic energy. And this granted him many great abilities. And so he's been part of the Lethal Legion, the Masters of Evil, the Legion of the Unliving, the West Coast Avengers, the Re-Avengers, which we're not going to talk about that because that's an absolute stupid storyline. S.H.I.E.L.D., Force Works, the Defenders, the Mighty Avengers, and then the regular Defenders. Regular Avengers. I'm getting mixed up. Williams Innovations. He has an extended lifespan. He cannot eat, drink, or sleep. He is ionic energy empowered. He has super strength, speed, stamina, agility, reflexes, and durability. And little interesting fact, Simon is actually one of the few people in the Marvel Universe to actually straight manhandle and actually beat Thor in hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, he actually beat the crap out of Thor. Although that was one issue, and that was when he was actually going stark raving mad because his ionic energy was in flux. So he was kind of starting to, shall we say, it started to mess with his mind a little bit. Also, one interesting thing is that many years later he would actually go public as a superhero and actually become a movie actor. He would become a like a B movie actor to help, subsequently, help with funding the West Coast Avengers, but also Simon would build his own nonprofit, charity organization. And on top of that, he would actually go public and admit that he was the one that did a lot of, like, the banking and, like, stock trading tips and stuff, expecting that he was going to go to jail. And in fact, he was actually not only acquitted of these charges, but the public actually came to Simon's aid and actually, spoke up for him. Basically saying that, look at all the good that this guy's done as an Avenger. And so no charges were ever filed and Simon was let off the hook. And eventually Simon would go in and out, and eventually he would actually have a fling with Scarlet Witch, and when he went into a coma, not knowing if they could ever really, like, wake him back up, they took his brain, the blueprints of his brain, the brain engrams, and so they implanted those into Vision. And thus, he ended up getting Vision and Scarlet Witch ended up becoming a couple and getting married, while Simon had to kind of look to the side. However, this didn't really bother Simon all that much, as he kind of looked, as in a sense, he kind of looked to Vision as a brother of sorts. And he actually would not develop any animosity towards he and Scarlet Witch. He would actually start to become good friends with both of them, developing a stable friendship. However, Simon would go through many different incarnations, joining the pro-registration movement in the Civil War, and eventually Simon would snap. Simon has recently snapped, and he's made the Re-Avengers, where apparently, he feels that, the Avengers haven't stepped up, that they've actually brought shame to the Avengers' name, and that they basically are not protecting people like they should be. So Simon and his group of Re-Avengers are going to basically take the fight to not only the Avengers, but every Avengers team out there. Because in his mind, because in Simon's mind, the Avengers have let too many people die, and in his eyes, they should be held accountable. I will tell you personally and biasly, I don't like this. I really don't. I don't think Simon should become a bad guy again. But anyway, guys, that is Wonderman. A very lesser known character, but nevertheless, still very sympathetic and very awesome.